Really?
David had said that he had
Oh,
fallen. Yeah,
really? He fell?
yeah. Now he's doing
He's
much
too
better.
young to fall.
You're right. You're right. So he's back. He's back. He's going to be back. He said this week.
So we on 51? Are you up to 52?
52,
Whatever.
52A1.
Yeah.
52A1.
So I go into the study and it says, please don't remove any books from the study. But I took it anyway.
I presume you asked permission, Ralph.
They, they don't bother me. I'm fine over there.
Okay. You think they're happy that you take it, right? That's what you understand. They
Yeah,
know that
wait,
you're what? They know that you're
52.
responsible. You're going to return it, right, Ralph?
Yeah, well, I did it last time and I returned it. So
Yeah, but I would say, Ralph, I would recommend since that you should mention to the Gabbai, mention to one of the people there that you're borrowing this. I think it's the point that they know that you got it. You know what I mean?
the Gabbai, the assistant rabbi left back to Israel, and now we have someone who took over him.
Whoever the person of position in the shul, just mention them that you borrowed it. I think that's the way
Yeah.
to go.
Hmm.
And you know what they'll
I
say?
will.
They'll say no problem. That's what they'll say.
His name is Rabbi Jensen.
Okay.
They call him Magic Jensen.
Okay. But you get what I'm saying, Ralph.
52A,
One.
52A1.
But that's what I
Yeah,
would
I'll tell him
suggest,
today.
Ralph. All right, you got it. Okay, we
Mhm.
got the deal. We made the deal. Okay, 52A1, first column. Tana de Bay Menashe. Now, we're going to
To
be
get my
talking about
glasses.
the goat going out on Shabbat. What exactly the appropriate for the goat to go out with? What might be called carrying. Like we spoke about, the animals cannot do work on Shabbat. Or work on Shabbat the same way we can't carry from private to public. If you want to send to the group that we're on at it. So too, the animal can't do something private to public. Eis shechakak lo bin kaneh. The a goat that the owners made a hole between its horns. Yotze b'afshe b'Shabbat. Um, so he's able to go out with the reins on Shabbat. So now, what's the story? You know, the normal wrapping, tying the reins on the head of a goat, like generally, let's say you would tie reins on other animals, but the goat it wouldn't be good enough. You'd have to go ahead and engrave a hole in its horns, and you put the reins inside the hole. So that hole in the horns will keep the reins that they're not coming out, right, Adam? But if you put it around its head, so Rashi says the what this animal. Good morning, Simon. Simon, the goat is moves a lot, and we're afraid that maybe the reins will come off its head because its head is very thin. And this animal moves. He moves this way and he moves that way, right, Simon? This goat. And when you pull the animal, it moves. And it moves, it goes like this and it goes like that. And the more you move the head and you have something tied around the head, then what happens? It's gonna come off. It's gonna come off the head. And what's the problem if it comes off the head? If it comes off the head, you might come pick up those reins and carry it for Amot in the Rishut Rabim. So here we have a new issue. The issue is, main. This rein is sufficient to pull the animal, right? It's not that the goat is this wild animal that this rein is considered not good enough. And we said in the Gemara earlier, if the animal goes out with some sort of rein that's not sufficient for the animal, and if it's not doing anything for the animal, if it's not doing anything, at least that's one language of one of the comments. If it's not doing anything, then it's considered a load. But here, the normal rain would do the trick. But the problem is it's going to fall off. There are certain things you know, we spoke about sometimes there's certain things that we might not, let's say, if you wear something, let's say, if I recall correctly, let's say something that's very loose that might fall off. If you wear it on Shabbat in public property, there's a problem because maybe you're going to come to what? To carry it. An item that will fall off is a concern of carrying. An item that you will take off the
Kippah
donkey,
could fall off.
okay? That's a good point, Ralph, about the yarmulke falling off in public property. A person but since people know not to, when people wear the yarmulke, maybe they understand that they're not supposed to walk without the yarmulke when you're wearing the yarmulke. So therefore, there's not such a concern. But I think you are correct, Ralph. It is an issue. Great point. That there are people that on Shabbat that wear a yarmulke, especially the people who don't wear a yarmulke necessarily all the time. And they put on the yarmulke on Shabbat. So, and the whole week they carry, a lot of the week they carry the yarmulke in the pocket, right? They take the yarmulke when they say a bracha, when they eat. They say brachot with the yarmulke, right, Simon? There's a concern maybe when they're walking the street on Shabbat, in public property, if the yarmulke falls off, they might come to carry it. Okay, so they have to be careful if the yarmulke falls off. They stop, they pick up the yarmulke in the spot, and they don't walk and hold it in their hand. They put the yarmulke right on, and then they walk. But Ralph is bringing up a great point. Maybe it's important that those people should wear a clip in the yarmulke to tie it to their head, because maybe that will prevent it from falling off. Because if it falls off, there's a concern. Maybe there might be a real issue for some people that come to walk with it.
Sometimes before the synagogue, you bow,
Right. So the yarmulke, great. The yarmulke falls in the synagogue. You pick it up, you put it on. There's no issue of maybe come to carrying a public property. But Ralph was pointing out that if you're walking in the street outdoors on Shabbat in public property, so remember, there's two issues. I can't carry from private property to public property on Shabbat. I can't go from private domain to a public domain if there's no eruv. And in the public domain itself, I can't pick up something in public domain and carry it 6 to 8 feet in the public domain. Is that clear? I can't, let's say on Shabbat, I had nothing in my pockets. I left the house with nothing in my pockets. I had a yarmulke on my head. I had nothing in my pockets. And then I'm walking, and then the wind comes, blows off my yarmulke. I pick up my yarmulke. If I pick up my yarmulke and I start walking 6 to 8 feet, that means I carried 6 to 8 feet in public property. When if I go from private to public, it's any amount of distance. It's no distance. You don't have to go any distance. The classic case, you're in your house. If you stick and a poor person comes, knocks on the door, and let's say it's not like a house with grass in front of the house. Your house is, let's say, like similar to the Safa synagogue. You open the door, you're in the street, right? You stick your hand out, you're in public property. The door is adjacent to public property. You don't have this whole lawn in front of you, the synagogue. Am I correct, Adam? So if you go in and you stick your hand out from the inside and you put into to a person's hand outside, the item went from private to public. That's a violation of Shabbat. There was no 6 to 8 feet that had traveled. It went from private to public. That has nothing to do with the amount of distance of how far it went.
Sidewalk over here does not consider as private.
Right, the sidewalk would seem to me would be public because it's a place that belongs to the public. Maybe the shul has certain responsibilities to keep the sidewalk clean. Asaf was trying to get in. Where is Asaf? You have the responsibility to keep the. Good morning, Asaf. I don't see you. You're here. I see you in the participants. So I presume that means you're here, right? Asaf, you able to hear me? That means he's in, but just.
Oh yeah, he should be. He's in. He hasn't turned on his.
He hasn't turned in there. Okay, thank you very much. So how do I get off of this, Adam?
I'll just click the X at the top right.
Extra top right? Oh, I got it. I see it. Yeah, thank you very much. So, Simon, even though the property in front of the shul has to clean the snow, but it still belongs to it belongs to the public. If the shul would want to go ahead and say I would think if the shul would say I want to go ahead and extend the building towards the street, there would be an issue because you're taking over the sidewalk that belongs to the city. That's what I would think. The property line, I would think the ownership of and that street is used by the public, right? It's not. It's a public area. But but when you're in the public property itself, when the item was uprooted, picked up in the public, not that it went from private to public, the public itself, to violate the Torah law of carrying on Shabbat is if you either went from private to public without any distance, just the private to public, that is the distance that it went, doesn't have to carry 6 to 8 feet, like the example I gave you by the shul, or the violation of Shabbat is if something was in the public property, it started out in public, the yarmulke started out in public property, it wasn't carried from private to public, it was worn from private to public. That's not carrying. You wore it inside the shul, you wore it outside, that's not carrying. But then subsequently, when it was outside, it came off, and then you picked it up in your hand, and if you start walking, if you hit 6 to 8 feet, you are in violation of the what? The Torah violation. And you shouldn't really walk any amount, because once you start walking something if you start walking in public property, picking up the yarmulke and start walking a little bit, you might come to walk the full distance of 6 to 8 feet. So therefore, you don't walk at all. You stop in your tracks, you pick up the yarmulke, you put on your head, and then you start walking again. All right. Now, as the expression goes, you don't pick up the yarmulke on the fly while you're walking and keep on walking with it. You just first stop, put on the yarmulke, and then keep on walking. Okay. So that's what the Gemara says, the concern of the goat, the thin head of the goat, how it affects the halacha, the thin head and the movement of the goat, how it looks like a boxer, right? Like that, right? And how it affects the halacha. Boy, Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi Yosef asked the following question: Tachav lo bizikna, bizkana. You stuck the reins into its beard. What does it mean? You tie the hairs of the beard of the goat. The goat has a lot of hair, and you made like a hole, like a loop in the beard, and to make a hole in the horn is a much more intense type of thing. To stick the cord through the hole. Instead, what you do is you went ahead and you made a little loop. You used the beard of the morning. Use the beard of the goat, and by using the beard, you made a little loop, and you stuck the rein through that loop that's now made from the hair of the beard. Now, if you're going to go in and pull it tight, if you're going to pull it, it's going too tight. It's going to pain the animal. So what's the law? Do we say kiva di menatach la kavla? If the animal is going to try to move its head, a lot, right? It's going to go ahead. It's going to come out. It's going to pain the animal, right? If the animal, like we said, the general is that the goat moves its head, and as a result of moving its head and the pulling of the animal, it comes to it gets dislodged, right? When you move the animal, when you move the reins, it moves its head a lot. But here, if it moves if it moves its head a lot, it'll feel the pain of the here, because it's gonna be pulling on the here. So lo osinatucha. So it's not gonna come to move so much. And as a result of that, it's not a problem. Dilma zuma the rafi nafel. Sometimes maybe the hair of the goat will be loose and it will fall out. And the reins will fall off. And also the Rabim, and you'll come to carry it 400 Rabim. The Gemara says the Gemara says we don't have a clear answer whether what the halacha will be. We have to wait. The Mashiach will come. Eliyahu Hanavi will give us an answer. Right. So the bottom, the commentary says, if the animal moves a lot, what will happen is the rein will pull out its hair, right? If it comes to pull, if it comes, if moves its hair a lot, there'll be movement in the rein, and the rein is tied to the beard, so therefore the animal might not move so much. The Gemara says take him. The Gemara doesn't answer the question. Now, getting back to our main discussion, whether if you put something extra type of restraint on the animal, if you do something which is more than it's necessary, would that be called carrying? By the way, is there a feature of where it says the time here on this?
Yeah, it's in the bottom right.
No, it's not on the bottom right. Okay, just I could have my phone here.
Let me get this wrong box.
Okay.
6 after 7.
Okay, very good. This I should know for later. Okay, Tanan Hatam. We learned over there. Thank you very much. Tanan Hatam, we learned over there. We learned over there in the Mishnah later on that the cow cannot go out with a strap that's between its horns, because now we have to explain this halacha, right? Below it says over there, below b'ritzua shebein kanel, right? But now let's understand this. If you look, this is a Mishnah on Nun Daled Amud Beis, right? Nun Daled Amud Beis. You look to the Mishnah. The Mishnah says, below b'ritzua shebein, right? It's toward the top of the page. 1 second, on Nun Daled Amud Beis. Says it can't go out with the cow can't go out with the strap between its horns, and the reason why it can't go out, so Rashi says, because that's a load. That is a load. It's not because it might fall and you might come to carry it. Rather, now it's a load. Now we have to see why it's a load. Is it because it's excessive or not? So Charama Bein Lenoi, whether this strap that you wrap between its horns, whether it is colored, that let's say you braided it, you tied it from one horn to the other horn, and it's not used, this strap is not used to hold the animal in place, that it shouldn't run away. Bein l'shamer, whether you are using this strap, if the strap is there to protect the animal, keep the animal from running away, asur. You can't allow your animal, your cow, same way you can't allow your cow to go out with it on Shabbat with the strap. Why? We'll see what's the reason. we're saying it's not allowed. This strap that's for beautification purposes. Now, I think there's an idea that if we said that if you beautify an animal, you adorn the animal with something, same way a person wears jewelry, if you adorn the animal with something, it also would not be considered a load, right? When a woman wears jewelry that goes out on Shabbat, or Simon wears a nice necklace that goes out on Shabbat, right? That's jewelry. It's not carrying. It becomes part of you, so to speak. So what's the issue with now? What's the problem with the animal going out with something which is beautifying the animal? So I think one idea is we're talking about when it's not if it's not common to use this type of thing as a as jewelry. Because the Ritva says something that's normal for the animal to go out to make, that's adorning the animal, that's beautifying the animal, that's fine. That would not be a problem. We're talking about something, this strap is not the norm for the animal to go out with. That's considered a load. Now, a cow is a very domesticated animal. You don't need to hold anything on the animal to keep the animal, to show its direction, to keep it safe, shouldn't run away, that it shouldn't get. You just need, the person can walk back. You could walk back of the cow to lead it in front. That should go in front of you. So therefore it's considered extra protection. If you put the strap between its horns and so it sounds like to me you could pull it, you could pull it through that, but that's not but it's not necessary, so it's extra. So we see here this opinion is saying extra shmira, something that's done for extra protection, is considered a load. It's not necessary. However, one rabbi says, between Rav and Shmuel, didn't identify who says what yet. One says lenoi asur, if it's for beautification purposes, it's forbidden, but it's not usual to adorn the animal with such a strap. But l'shamim mutar, but to protect the animal from running away, it's permitted, even though this opinion holds that excessive item that's there, excessive guarding, overdoing the security for the animal is not considered a load. Maybe it's still doing something, and therefore it's not considered a load. Rav Yosef says, good morning, Emmanuel. I got the name right, correct? I think so. So Rav Yosef, Emmanuel, we're discussing an animal on Shabbat. You can't, same way the Torah says, your animal has to rest on Shabbat. Your animal can't plow. The morning can't right? Can't thresh on Shabbat, and your animal can't carry a load on Shabbat from private to public. The same way you can't carry from private to public. If there's no eruv, right? What do we say in the pasuk? The pasuk says, your animal should also rest on Shabbat. It says, the pasuk also says, your child should rest on Shabbat. Bincha v'techa. So, you can't have your child do some work for you on Shabbat. I can't write on Shabbat. I'll tell my child, someone else tell the child to write for them. They can't do that, right? You can't have your child do work for you on Shabbat, do malacha for you on Shabbat. Now, so the Chad one opinion says, so the question is, if you tie something on the animal that's extra protection, that the animal should not run away, or to keep it from going in the wrong direction, is that considered, if it's not necessary, you don't need that level of it. Let's say the cow, the Gemara is discussing the cow. A cow doesn't need any reins to keep it under control. You can just walk with it, walk by it. And if you put the rein on the cow, is that considered something that's not, since it's not necessary, would that be considered it's carrying the rein by wearing something that's not necessary for it? Or at the end of the day, it is doing some sort of protection, just keeping the animal under check. You don't need it, but maybe excessive security for the animal is not called a load. That's the question in the Gemara, all right? The Gemara just brought a seemingly argument of two rabbis regarding this matter, whether it's called manual as a clear or not clear. So more two opinions. Rabbi Yosef says to Stayim, let's prove the Shmuel who the Amma Muta. Now we have the argument between two rabbis, Rav and Shmuel. But when they recorded the argument, they didn't record which one said what. They said one of them said it would be permitted, and one of them said it would be forbidden. Now we have a general rule when it comes to financial matters. Rabbi Shmuel was more of the expert. So when he says something in money matters, the law follows him generally. But when it was monetary matters, the law followed Rav. He was more of the expert. So if we could prove who said what, then we could know who the law follows. If we prove that Rav is or Shmuel is the one who says, good morning, Boker Tov, that excessive security is not considered carrying. So if Shmuel is the man who says that, then we could say that the law would follow Rav, because the law in Hilchot Shabbat generally would follow Rav. That's how I would understand why it's important. Why is it important to know who said what? One of the rabbis said this, and one of the rabbis said that. It's important to know which one said what, because you have to know identify who the law follows. So let's say, for instance, if you have in the Shulchan Aruch, they have Moron HaMachaber, Yosef Cairo. And then you have Ramoshe Islas, the Ashkenaz rabbi, the Ramah. So it's important to know who says what, because if you're a Sfardi, you'll follow Moron HaMachaber. If you say there's an argument in the Machaber and the Ramah about a certain matter, you need to know who says what. Who is one says permitted, one says not permitted. If you're Sfardi, you'll follow the Machaber. If you're Ashkenaz, you'll follow the Ramah. So you have to know who said what, right? There's a very good, great ramification by knowing who says what. Rabbi Yosef to Stayim, let's prove the Shmuel the Amal L'Noy Asul L'Shem Amotah. We're discussing excessive item on an animal that's not necessary. You don't need that level of security to keep the animal in check. Let's say put reins on an animal doesn't need the reins. Would that be considered, and the animal goes out from private to public on Shabbat? Is that called the animal's carrying something? Your animal can't carry from private to public on Shabbat. There's no Erev. Same way you can't carry. Remind me your first name again? Michael. Michael, is that clear? Okay. So the Gemara wants to prove the Stayim, the Shmuel, the Amal, the Shama Muteh. Shmuel is of the opinion that you could put the rein on the cow and let it go out in public property, but you don't need that level. Because Shmuel went on record and said the law is like Hananya. Hananya was of the opinion that extra security is not called carrying. And therefore, since we found that Shmuel said the law follows Hananya, that extra security is not called a load, so most probably he's the man who says that if you do it for security purposes, it's not a problem. Abaye says to Rabbi Yosef, Adarabba, on the contrary, to Stayim, let's prove the Shmuel the Amar Bein L'Noi Bein L'Shama Asur. Let's prove that Shmuel's the opinion that says it would be forbidden. Meaning everybody says if you're putting on the animal something that's not normal, not usual for beautification purposes, that's called a load. The only arguing extra security is that called a load or not. Now the Gemara shoots back. Maybe Shmuel's the man who says it is a problem. Why? The Amar Rabbi Yehuda Shmuel, because Rabbi Yehuda says the name of Shmuel. Machlifun Lefnei Rabbi. There were students asked Rabbi, Shalzu Bezu. If let's say the camel, right? You have the female camel and you have the male camel. The female camel is wilder than the male camel, and you need more to guard the female camel. So they said the students asked the Rabbi, what about if the female camel you gave the security of the regular camel? That Rabbi said that's for sure no good, because if it's not doing anything, because low security, it's not doing anything, that's called nothing, and it's called carrying. But if you took the camel and you put the female level of security on the camel, the male camel, which needs a lot, which doesn't need a lot, and you put the higher level, that was the question that was asked to Shmuel. And V'amar Lefanav, And Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Yossi said, when it was presented, when what happened was Shmuel reported that they asked Rebbe what would be the law if you gave the camel a higher level of security. They asked Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, and when they asked Rabbi Yehuda Nasi the question, and sitting in the audience was Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi report, my father Rabbi Yossi says, Abba behemoth Yosef b'afsa b'Shabbat. 4 animals could go out with a rein on Shabbat. Hasus, a horse, a rein is fine for a horse. Haperet, a mule. Hagomel, a camel. Hachamor, a donkey. This would be sufficient. This would be enough. This would be proper for these animals to go out with a rein. When it says that the camel goes out with a rein, doesn't that mean to exclude the camel go out with a rein? Because that's the normal security necessary for a camel. But if you put some sort of nose something in the nose, you make a incision in the nose, and you put the rein in the nose, which is necessary, let's say maybe for the female camel, but you did that for the male camel, it sounds like it wouldn't be good enough because it says only can go out with the rein. It doesn't seemingly indicate they can't go out with such a high level of security. And so, and the fact that that was said in front of Rabbi, and Shmuel seems to, say that, was said in front of Rabbi, and most probably Rabbi accepted, and the Gemara is saying Rabbi most probably accepted what Rabbi Shmuel said named Rabbi Yossi, and it would seem it's coming to exclude that a camel can't go out with a higher level of security. It's considered extra. So the Gemara says, so we have a contradiction. So one place he seems to be saying it's not extra, it's not considered a low. One place the extra security is a low by the camel. Samiha mekamiha. Since we have a contradiction, so let's go ahead and go with the opinion that Shmuel agrees with Hananya that extra protection is not considered a load. Meaning to say, we have to not accept this last report that you said. We have to go ahead and we're not going to go with this because of the other teachings. So the Gemara says, why should you go ahead and remove, not accept the second teaching over the first teaching? Maybe don't accept the first teaching over the second. What if you have contradiction? One place it seems to Shmuel saying extra security is not a load. One place extra security is a load. And now the Gemara says you have to go with the opinion that says extra security is not a load. Why go with that opinion? Maybe go with the other opinion and say that that opinion is more correct. So the Gemara says the Ashkechan, because we find clearly the Shmuel's of the opinion, L'noi Asur L'Shamota. He went on record that says that you could go ahead and extra security is not a problem. So if I have a contradiction, in one place it seems to indicate that Shmuel says extra protection is not a problem, and one place Shmuel seems to indicate extra protection is a problem, I'm going to follow the opinion that says extra protection is not a problem because we have a different place where Shmuel really went on record openly regarding this matter. Because the other two places Shmuel it was not as open. Because here it clearly talks about the Amma. What's the case? The Amma, it says Rav Chia bar Ashi Amma Rav. He says the name of Rav. Bein lenoi, bein l'shem asa. It says according to Rav, even if it's protective purposes, it is forbidden. It's considered a load. And Rav Chia bar Rav Shmuel, the name of Shmuel, that lenoi asur l'shem muter. That if it's for protective purposes, it'll be permitted. Since that's openly stated, the actual case was stated. Excessive l'shameh, if you're guarding it and it's more than necessary, is it permitted or not? And Shmuel said, the name of Shmuel, he actually said openly that it's permitted. Therefore, we follow that opinion. Have a great day, everybody. Hopefully, we'll see everybody tomorrow. Yes. Ralph,
Good, Rabbi. Be good.
Have a great day, Ralph.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. how much time do we have in this?